The general has returned, and has brought back a pregnant woman. Upon hearing the news, I sprinted toward the mansion in such haste that I even lost one of my embroidered shoes. The travel-worn general and I locked eyes from a distance, both of us brimming with tears. At last, we've finally found the male lead's mother. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now the story begins. I settled the woman in the finest courtyard of the estate. Then returned to my room and began rummaging through chests and cabinets. My personal maid Xinga voiced her indignation for me. The general has gone too far. You used to fight side by side with him on the battlefield, sharing life and death. Now you've barely been home from the army for any time at all, and has already brought another woman back, and she's pregnant too when you still haven't borne him any children. I turned a deaf ear. Having already unearthed a large chest of gold and silver jewelry, Xinga helped me pack, saying, "You're doing the right thing, my lady. Let's go home, we don't need to suffer this humiliation. Hurry, help me deliver all these to Miss Dao. I'll just..." What? There was no time to explain. I grabbed the items and ran toward the guest house. When I arrived, Chi Ku was ordering the chefs to bring dish after dish into the room, delicacies from land and sea, everything one could desire. I gritted my teeth standing beside him. "You're quick on the draw." Chi Ku gave a fake smile looking at the treasure in my arms. "You're no slouch either." Both Chi Ku and I were transmigrated into this novel. In the real world, we were childhood sweethearts and sworn rivals, bickering and fighting for over a decade before ending up at the same university. Then during our sophomore year summer break, on our way home, the bus overturned and we both got transported into this book. He became the cavalry general of the Great Yu dynasty. I was the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Personnel who disguised herself as a man to follow him onto the battlefield. I clearly remember reading this book, but none of the characters matched us. It wasn't until a month later that I finally understood, damn it, this was the prequel. The male lead of this book wouldn't even be born for another 2 years. The reason Chi Ku and I have remained friends since childhood without ever falling out is because we're two of a kind. We're both terrified of death. That's why we immediately petitioned for imperial permission to marry, to avoid any complications from being matched with others. But that wasn't enough. We used our military merits to exchange for 2 additional get-out-of-death-free passes. In the end, he claimed years of campaigning had ruined his health and needed rest. So he spent a year lying low at the general's residence, but the damned emperor simply wouldn't let Chi Ku resign, likely wary of his influence in the military. With the court in turmoil these past few years, we all felt that given the emperor's paranoid nature, trouble was bound to happen sooner or later. And a mere pardon token was far from enough. If we're going to cling to someone's coattails, we might as well aim for the biggest ones. That night, Chi Ku and I discussed our plans in the room all night long. In the end, we reached an agreement and decided to find the male lead's mother, who was still pregnant with him and living a life of hardship. As long as we became his godparents, given his overpowered golden finger, our future wealth and prosperity would be guaranteed. After searching for a full 3 months, Chi Ku finally found her among a group of women who had just been abducted by bandits. Truly, perseverance paid off. Dao Yunus' child carries the bloodline of the former imperial family. When the child grows up, they will possess the golden finger that all protagonists have, unifying the martial world, overthrowing the dynasty, expanding territories, and establishing a new realm. Of course, Dao Yuna knew none of this. Having endured hardship while hiding in exile, she now took one look at our imposing presence and immediately fell to her knees in fright. "Thank you, General's lady, for saving my life. I know the general must have brought me back for a reason. Please, speak your command." "Damn, the pregnancy isn't stable yet." I quickly helped her up and gently patted her hand to comfort her. Don't panic, there's no need for begging or anything, it's just, my husband felt a connection with you at first sight." "Dao Yuna, a connection?" I jabbed Chi Ku in the stomach. Chi Ku said with a nostalgic expression, "That's right, you were wearing red and yellow clothes at the time." Which reminded me of the tomato and egg soup from the 3rd cafeteria. Me, Dao Yuna's face was filled with terror. I quickly pulled her to sit at the dining table and told her that we knew her husband. Drawing from the faint remnants of my memory of the prequel, I fabricated a dramatic and tumultuous backstory. which finally earned her trust. She agreed to stay at the general's residence to rest and nurture her pregnancy. However, Dao Yuna's identity couldn't be openly disclosed. So within just 3 days, several versions of rumors had already spread outside. While I was buying pastries at the bakery with Xinga, people around us kept whispering and pointing. "Have you heard? General Qi brought back a girl from outside. They all say the cavalry general and his wife are so loving. But I don't see anything special about it. Probably tired of Miss Jiang's swordplay and lack of charm. That's why he brought one home from outside. A woman's life still depends on her man. What good is being the official wife without her husband's favor or an heir? Hard days ahead. TSK. Pitiful." Xinga was both furious and indignant. "Miss, they're practically standing right in front of us gossiping." Yet I was solely preoccupied with snatching that basket of freshly steamed Osmanthus cakes. "Hurry, wrap them up. Miss Dao loves these." "Xinga, miss," I directed her to the other side. "The 10 premium old hens I reserved, go fetch them quickly. A pregnant woman needs all the nutrition she can get." After that day, the noble women of the capital all whispered that I'd gone mad. Meanwhile, the men sighed in admiration, remarking how rare it was to find such an understanding first wife. Little did I know, these rumors would eventually reach the ears of Wei Yifeng, my former comrade-in-arms, now the commander of the city patrol. This Yanda's feelings for me are far from pure. Qi Ku was hosting some officials for his usual social engagements, and I never expected to see Wei Yifeng at the gathering. He raised his glass to toast me. "It's been a year. I hope you've been well." I froze. Chiku picked up the wine cup in front of me, arched an eyebrow, and returned the toast. "My wife isn't good with alcohol. I'll drink for her." I have to admit, Chiku can be quite reliable at times. During the banquet, Wei Yifeng's scorching gaze remained completely unrestrained. His staring made me so uneasy that I found an excuse to leave, only to have Wei Yifeng follow me out. He stopped me in the courtyard and came straight to the point. "Chiku has brought another woman home, yet you still treat him the same as before." "Me, what?" Wei Yifeng moved closer to me. "You could also choose me. I do like handsome guys, and I admit you're good-looking too, but you're crazy. Thanks, but no thanks." I let out a dry laugh and walked around him to leave. Wei Yifeng suddenly sneered coldly behind me. "I can prove to you that I'm capable of doing anything for you. Consider this a greeting gift today. I'll handle the trouble you can't resolve." "What trouble do I have?" I turned to look, and my gaze froze as it swept across the attic. Dao Yuna was pinned against the railing by a man, trembling as she protected her belly. Holy shit, the male lead's mom, my lifelong wealth and prosperity. I was horrified. "What are you trying to do?" Wei Yifeng curled his lips. "What kind of trash is she, daring to compare herself to you? Jiang Yanqing, I'll take care of her for you today." After speaking, he waved his hand, and just as the man was about to push Dao Yuna down, I urgently shouted, "Chiku!" Chiku came out and, upon seeing the situation, clearly realized something was wrong. But at such a distance, even if he used his qinggong, it would be difficult for him to catch her directly. He needed leverage. Without time to think, I took a step forward, knelt on one knee, and arched my back toward the sky. "Go!" Without a second thought, Chiku stepped on my back and leaped into the air, catching Dao Yuna as she was falling. Wei Yifeng was stunned. The guests who had come out to watch the commotion froze in place. "Miss." Xinga rushed over in a panic to help me up. What kind of general's wife serves as a stepping stone for others? Next time, under the stunned gazes of the crowd, I calmly brushed the footprints off my clothes. "Next time it's your turn. Xinga, next time remember to put down a cloth first. Oh dear, look how dirty these clothes are." Meanwhile, Chiku had landed as steadily as if in an idle drama while holding Dao Yuna. He handed Dao Yuna to me before leaping back up to apprehend the assailant on the loft. Unexpectedly, a flying knife was even faster than him, grazing Chiku's ear before plunging straight into the man's chest. I immediately turned to glare at Wei Yifeng. He looked back at me innocently, clapped his hands, and said, "That scoundrel dared to attempt murder in broad daylight against someone from the general's household. I feared he might harm General Qi, so I had no choice but to end him with a single strike. If the lady won't thank me, why look at me like that?" I gritted my teeth and said, "I thank your entire family." A year apart, Wei Yifeng has lived up to his name, growing increasingly unhinged. Back when we served together in the military camp, he'd always treated me differently. I once caught him secretly keeping my handkerchief, pressing it to his face in the dark, breathing heavily. That incident terrified me. I've kept my distance ever since. After returning to the capital, I soon entered into a marriage in name only with Chi-Ku. On the wedding day, Wei Yifeng rode his horse alongside my bridal sedan the entire way. He lifted the sedan curtain, his fingers gripping the carriage frame until they turned white, repeating the same phrase, "Just a little more, just a little." Only later did I learn that while we were petitioning for the imperial marriage, he had gone to the palace to request my hand immediately after. Holy shit, good thing I was faster. After marriage, we kept a low profile. Wei Yifeng went away for a year to earn military merits, and has just returned to the capital to take up the post of chief commander of the patrol battalion. After seeing everyone off, I applied medicine to Chi-Ku in the room. A flying knife had grazed his face, leaving a cut. Anyone could tell with half a brain that Wei Yifeng had done it on purpose. Xing'e suddenly knocked on the door. "General, Madam, Miss Dao is outside the courtyard with a bowl of lotus root soup, saying she wishes to bring it in." I wanted to call her in, but Chika stopped me. I was puzzled. Why? Chika's expression was quite complicated. "Have you read novels? Today I played the hero saving the beauty in public, and now Dao Yuna is bringing soup in the dead of night. Can't you guess her intentions?" I said with certainty. "She wants to become your disciple. Are you fucking brain dead?" Chi-Ku suddenly grabbed my face. "You've got the hots for me." Me? Chi-Ku shot me a look of exasperation, cleared his throat, and had Xing'e bring Dao Yuna inside. Dao Yuna entered carrying a food box, curtsied, then placed the box on the table. Chi-Ku's face was grave. "Miss Dao, I'll speak frankly. I saved you only because of my acquaintance with your husband. Now that your husband's whereabouts are unknown, I'm merely looking after you on his behalf. I must decline your affections." Dao Yuna froze for a few seconds before suddenly bending over and retching. Startled, I immediately stood up to pat her back. "What's going on?" "Morning sickness this severe." "Dao Yuna, not morning sickness. I'm nauseated by the general." Me? Chi-Ku. He let out an awkward dry laugh. "Just kidding." Then he quickly changed the subject, reaching for the lotus root soup. "This soup looks good." Dao Yuna was quicker, bringing out the soup and handing him a small bowl while giving me the entire large pot. "Madam, your noble self has risked life and limb to save me today. This kindness, Yuna will remember it forever. When my child is born, I will make sure they know of this grace as well." Tears welled up in my eyes. I nearly wanted to perform a Thomas Flare before kneeling to kowtow to Dao Yuna. Who would have thought ahahaha, the chosen one was actually me. Glancing at Chika's dark expression, I couldn't help but burst into laughter, holding Dao Yuna's hand with genuine emotion. "Ha ha 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 ha. With those words of yours, I can rest easy." Dao Yuna frowned slightly. "My identity is unclear and will only bring you trouble. Let me do odd jobs in the mansion from now on. Just say I'm a purchase servant." "That won't do. You're still pregnant." After some thought, I grinned mischievously. "If you don't mind, I have an idea." The next day, we deliberately made a grand spectacle by taking to the streets, extravagantly reserving the largest restaurant in the entire capital. As expected, this move instantly captured the attention of everyone present. Arm in arm with Dao Yuna, I stepped down from the carriage, and the restaurant owner personally came out to greet us. "Madam Chi, it's been a long time since you last visited." He then scrutinized Dao Yuna beside me, whose slightly protruding belly and opulent attire caught his eye. "This lady looks unfamiliar. May I ask which household she belongs to?" The noble women watching the spectacle covered their lips with their hands and chuckled softly. That Jiang Yanqing is truly a peculiar one, treating a mistress like a sister. "Look, that girl is even pregnant. Couldn't that be General Chi's firstborn son?" TSK. Jiang Yanqing isn't even ashamed of the disgrace. Dao Yuna tugged at my sleeve, and I patted her hand to comfort her. Then I raised my voice. "Which families, madam?" "Of course. It's the Chi families." The tavern owner glanced at Chi-Ku and quickly flattered. "Congratulations, General Chi, on the imminent arrival of your noble heir." Chi-Ku extended his hand in protest. "You're congratulating the wrong person, boss." The boss stood there dumbfounded as Chi-Ku and I supported Dao Yuna on either side, walking inward. Auntie, be careful, is the little brother in your belly kicking you again? Chi-Ku, my father is having a child late in life. So we must be extra careful. Me, boss, order. Within 3 days, news that General Chi had taken a new wife on the frontier and sent her back to the capital to rest during her pregnancy had spread throughout the city. That night, Chi-Ku squatted under the corridor, lost in thought as he stared at the letter delivered post-haste from the borderlands. I crouched beside him. What did your father say? He said there's a chest of gold buried under our pear tree. Me, gah, Chi-Ku wiped his face. He told me to dig it out and buy myself a nice coffin. Me, speechless, I patted his back. Stay strong. Once the overpowered male lead is safely born, we'll finally be through the worst of it. If you're feeling bitter, just say it. Chi-Ku, I want to hit you. I'll go check if Dao Yuna has her blanket properly tucked in at night. We waited with bated breath, counting the days until finally reaching the week before Dao Yuna's due date, despite our meticulous care. Who could have imagined Dao Yuna would overeat in the morning and suffer unbearable abdominal pain by afternoon? After examining her, the village doctor frowned and said, "This is a case of food poisoning." Me, what poison? The physician, gluttony poison, toxins produced from overeating. Chi-Ku expressionlessly picked up the nearby knife. The physician trembled. "General, what are you going to do?" Chi-Ku. "I've got the chopping poison. It's the toxin that builds up when I feel like chopping people up." The doctor. "This chopping poison, I've never even heard of such a thing." Chi-Ku rolled up his sleeves and charged. "Then is fullness poison reasonable? Just listen to how absurd that sounds. What the hell am I?" I quickly stopped him, and after seeing the doctor out, took a few deep breaths and said, "Originally, there was this plot where the male lead was poisoned in the womb and needed rare medicinal herbs like 1,000-year-old ginseng and fleeceflower root to cure him, making him immune to all poisons after birth. But who could have imagined that because Dao Yuna was too well protected by us and had no chance to be poisoned, the system set up such an outrageous poison saturation for us. Most of the medicines mentioned in the book can be bought at ordinary pharmacies. Except for that 1,000-year-old ginseng. The oldest ginseng in the pharmacy is only 100 years old at most. As far as I know, there's only 1,000-year-old ginseng root in the entire capital. Just a few months ago, when Wei Yifeng returned to the capital, the emperor bestowed it upon him. Oh no, I'm screwed. Ku and I sat in the courtyard sighing deeply. After a long pause, I spoke up. "How about I sell my charms for a change?" "No," Chi-Ku blurted out almost instantly. I glanced at him, and he awkwardly averted his gaze. "Even without currying favor, our family can hold on for a few more years. Is it really necessary for you to sell your charms? This morning, several officials at court impeached you for being a freeloader, didn't they? They're clearly about to make an example of you. Are you sure you can last a few more years? Besides, this child is the male lead. If he doesn't survive, will this world even continue to exist?" Chi-Ku remained silent. After a long pause, he looked at me with a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Remember when we sneaked into the office to steal our phones back in our second year of high school? As if I could ever forget that. That year, our school was cracking down hard on students bringing phones to campus, and both Chi-Ku and I got caught, but it was New Year's Eve, and we had made plans with a few close friends to sneak out and have some fun, so I pretended to faint in the classroom, drawing all the teachers from the office over, allowing Chi-Ku to sneak in and steal the phone back. Later, the phone was successfully stolen, but to make my fainting act convincing, I went completely limp when they tried to help me up and fell backward, hitting my head on the ground, knocking myself out for real. That day, Chi-Ku carried me on his back as he sprinted to the infirmary, only to end up in the bed next to mine due to a pulled muscle. I eyed Chi-Ku suspiciously. "You wouldn't be trying to, Chi-Ku, if we can't take it back by force. We'll steal it back." The next day, we sent a visiting card to Wei Yifeng's residence, but his reply stated he would only welcome me. Fuming, Chi-Ku had no choice but to change tactics. While I kept Wei Yifeng occupied in the front hall, he would sneak into the treasury from the backyard. That day, I bundled myself up in multiple layers. Standing in the pavilion, Wei Yifeng studied me and said, "You," I quickly said, "I'm sick, it's a cold syndrome, quite serious." Wei Yifeng asked, "Aren't you hot?" I wiped the sweat from my forehead. "No, look, I'm breaking out in cold sweat." Seeing that I was having trouble moving, Wei Yifeng came over to support me again. I quickly took a step back to dodge. "This disease is contagious. Be careful." Wei Yifeng suddenly burst into laughter, looking at me with amusement. "You're so adorable. I really can't hold back anymore." Me, "Chiku, hurry the hell up. I can't hold on any longer." After drinking 2 cups of tea, I couldn't stand Wei Yifeng's gaze any longer and excused myself to the restroom. Hiding in the backyard where I happened to run into Chiku on the roof beam, he frowned tightly. "We've searched everywhere. Nothing. I suspect the ginseng is hidden in Wei Yifeng's bedroom, but the door is locked, and the key should be on him." But how to get the key from Chiku without letting him return to his room temporarily is a problem. I thought for a moment, then looked at Chiku. "Did you bring the knockout drug?" Chiku handed me the drug, but frowned when he saw me pouring it all onto a handkerchief I kept close to my body. "You're underestimating Wei Yifeng. With his vigilance, he'll definitely become suspicious if you act so unusually to get close to him." I scoffed. "You underestimate me too much." I carefully tucked away the evenly drugged handkerchief and returned to the pavilion. Upon seeing Wei Yifeng, I deliberately sighed several times with feigned distress. "Lord Wei, I know the recent memorials impeaching Chiku at court were all instigated by you. I beg you to show mercy." Chiku laughed. "I knew you came to my residence to plead for Chiku's sake. Want me to stop causing him trouble? That can be easily arranged." He stood up and walked around behind me, leaning close to whisper in my ear. "Do you know what I want most?" I staggered away, glaring at him. "Have some self-respect." "Fine. Go ahead and impeach me if you want. Do as you please." With a flick of my sleeve, I strode out of the pavilion. Left on the ground was my personal handkerchief, dropped by accident. I glanced back out of the corner of my eye and saw Wei Yifeng pick up the handkerchief, rub it twice, then greedily bury his face in it for a sniff. Then he promptly fainted. Chiku, hiding in the shadows, was dumbstruck. I turned back and kicked Wei Yifeng, gloating. "You don't understand perverts." Chiku wore a complicated expression. "You're right, I truly don't understand you." Me, Chiku found the 1,000-year-old ginseng in Wei Yifeng's bedroom. After taking it back to make medicine for Dao Yuna, she recovered immediately. 3 days later, as Chiku and I anxiously waited outside the delivery room, the weather suddenly changed. Hundreds of magpies circled above the general's residence, and with the loud cry of a newborn, rays of sunlight broke through the gloomy sky, dazzling our eyes. Chiku, "Holy shit." Me, "Damn, no wonder he's the male lead, even his birth is earth-shattering." Chiku rubs his hands like a fly. "Godson, your godfather's here." I pushed him away with one hand. "Godmother wants a hug." While Chiku and I were scrambling to hug his legs, Wei Yifeng kicked open the gate of the general's mansion. Holding a sword, with bloodshot eyes and a face full of malice, he strode toward Chiku. "You entered my room. Not a single guard in the entire mansion dared to step forward." Chiku frowned while holding the baby. "What nonsense are you spouting? Wei Yifeng, you took something of mine." Chiku remained shamelessly defiant. "That's right, I took the ginseng." Wei Yifeng roared. "Not that." What else did Chiku take besides the ginseng? Judging by Wei Yifeng's reaction, this thing must be way more valuable than ginseng. I glanced at Chiku, but he avoided my gaze. Damn it. That bastard must have struck gold behind my back. Before I could even react, Wei Yifeng suddenly charged at Chiku with his sword drawn. My eyes widened instantly. "My godson." Chiku quickly retreated with the baby in his arms, but it was too late. Just as the sword was about to strike the child, there was a sharp clang. The blade snapped in two. Wei Yifeng froze in shock, then pulled poisoned needles from his waist and hurled them at Chiku. Suddenly, several birds swooped down from the sky, intercepting every single needle without missing a single one. Wei Yifeng refused to give up and charged forward barehanded, but as soon as he took a step, he accidentally stepped on a smooth, round pebble. He fell headfirst to the ground and passed out. Chiku and I exchanged glances. Chiku was utterly baffled. What the hell just happened? I froze for a moment before suddenly realizing the truth. I couldn't help but burst into laughter, looking up at the sky. This is the protagonist's halo. The protagonist's halo, ha 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 ha. The servants of the Wei family carried him back to the mansion. I blocked Chiku in the room with a stick in hand. Confess honestly, what good stuff did you take from Chiku's room? We'll split it 50-50. Chiku walked expressionlessly to the cabinet, took out a blood-stained piece of clothing from a box. This guy casually left 1,000-year-old ginseng on the cabinet shelf, yet hid this fabric in a secret compartment under the bed. Upon closer inspection, wasn't this fabric from the clothes I wore on my first day after transmigrating into this book? That day I appeared directly on the battlefield and was scared half to death by the sight of corpses strewn everywhere. After much difficulty, I finally found Wei Feng, who was still breathing, and quickly tore off a piece of my clothing to bandage his wounds. After that, damn it, after that he became really perverted towards me. This is the damn root of all evil. Chiku's expression turned icy. Wei Feng is a complete lunatic. Do you know what I saw in his backyard? I felt an inexplicable chill run down my spine. What? Corpses. The dungeon was filled with corpses, all young women. They all had one thing in common. Chiku looked at me. They bore some resemblance to you. There's only one thought in my mind right now. Male lead, hurry up and grow up. Your godmother is cowardly and values her life. She really needs your protection. And so we embarked on the long road of raising a child. I soon forgot about Wei Feng, because Xiao Tian's protagonist Halo was just too useful. Yes, Xiao Tian, the male lead of this book, Long Qingtian. So cool, so protagonist-like. Just how effective is this protagonist Halo? When I took him to the casino, we won every single bet. Chiku took him for a stroll under the cliff, and every time they'd come back with some martial arts manual. Xing'e often took him to play in the mountains, where they could almost always find precious medicinal herbs. Just like that, it felt like we'd discovered a glitch in the world system. We were living in absolute bliss. By the time Xiaotian learned to speak, Dao Yuna somehow received news about her husband and decided to take Xiaotian to find him. The day has finally come, the first heartbreaking moment in this book. Dao Yuna dies protecting Xiaotian while searching for her husband. Xiaotian is then taken away by his father and becomes a regional lord. The night before Dao Yuna set off, Chiku and I sat in the room for a long time without saying a word, until we heard Xing'e and another maid whispering outside, "You're still up so late with the lights on today." Here. Ever since the general had deer antler for dinner, he's been different. My fault. I've corrupted Xing'e. That girl. I awkwardly rubbed my nose and spoke first. "So, what's the plan?" Chiku muttered. "You're asking me, aren't you already packing your bags?" "Not to be outdone," I retorted. "If you weren't planning to come along, why were you counting silver?" Chiku said, "I just think we've been lying low for too long. It wouldn't hurt to go out for a change. The grass is green and orioles sing outside now, might as well enjoy the scenery." I quickly chimed in. "Plus, if we save Sister Dao, our favor to Xiaotian would be greater than the heavens. We could just laze around as human accessories for the rest of our lives." We were giving each other excuses to back down, but deep down we both knew the truth. Having lived in this world for so long, we'd watched Xiaotian grow from birth to babbling his first words, learning to call us godfather and godmother, and there was Dao Yuna, bustling about to help us manage the household. We can no longer afford to be mere bystanders. 11. After setting out with Dao Yuna, we searched for half a month outside but found no trace. As conflicts erupted everywhere and war raged on, we decided it was best to return to the capital and reconsider our plans. While the carriage traveled along the mountain path, Dao Yuna and I were amusing the child inside when suddenly, a jolt shook us. Ku Chi's stern voice came from outside. "This place isn't right." I lifted the carriage curtain to see the mountain path empty, surrounded by complete silence. "Hold on tight." With a loud shout, Ku Chi suddenly cracked the whip and charged forward, as over a dozen assassins appeared behind us in hot pursuit. What should I do? This is the first time I've truly faced a life-or-death situation. After putting some distance between them and their pursuers, Chiku slowed down and said coldly, "Now's the time. Jump out of the car and hide in those bushes over there. Don't make a sound." I reached out and grabbed his clothes tightly. "What about you?" Chiku turned back and gave me a deep look. "I'll draw them away." He grabbed my wrist, squeezed it tightly, then ruthlessly let go. "Hurry." There was no time for more words. Holding Xiaotian, I jumped off the carriage with Dao Yuna. The world spun around us as we hid in the dense roadside grass. I have to say, he truly lives up to being the male lead, not a single cry despite all this chaos. Watching the carriage grow increasingly distant, the assassins shadowed it closely in pursuit. My heart leaped into my throat. Dao Yuna patted my hand reassuringly. Don't worry, the general will be fine. My voice broke with unexpected tears. All he knows is playing basketball and video games. Making me angry, he's useless. What's he trying to prove with those half-baked skills? Dao Yuna couldn't understand my words, so she could only grip my hand tightly. I don't know how much time had passed when all movement around us finally ceased. I immediately chased after the direction where the carriage had departed. A patch of woods lay ahead. Bloodstains everywhere with the assassin's corpse sprawled across the ground. Ku Chi leaned against the tree with his eyes closed, covered in blood, whether his own or someone else's. I couldn't tell. I crouched before him, my hands trembling, too afraid to touch him as tears began to fall. Without thinking, I started wailing. What am I supposed to do if you die? You know I can't stand being alone. You've walked me home every day since we were kids. I can't do this by myself. I'll just go with you. I reached for the knife in Ku Chi's hand, but couldn't pull it free. He opened his eyes and forced a smile. I'm not dead yet. I burst into even louder sobs. He raised his hand to wipe my tears, then pinched my cheek. Silly, I'm really strong, thanks to Xiaotian. I found so many martial arts manuals, I didn't waste a single one. I choked back a sob. You knew this day would come. Chiku smiled. Otherwise why would I practice martial arts? Isn't it just to protect you? He patted the space beside him. See, you won't have to be afraid anymore. Only then did I notice there was also a corpse lying next to him. I moved closer to take a look. It is the Wei Wind. The Wei Wind commands the patrol battalion. And only the Emperor can mobilize him. Though our interference delayed it by 2 years, the Emperor has still learned of the existence of the former dynasty's descendants and seeks to eliminate the potential threat. Because Chiku was injured, the journey back to the capital was particularly slow. But unexpectedly, another group of pursuers caught up with us just 100 miles outside the capital. Cursing under my breath, I was about to make a run for it when Dao Yuna suddenly stopped me. Wait. My lady. She rushed down from the carriage, locked eyes with the leader of the opposing group from a distance, and burst into tears. Husband. Well, damn. The male lead's father has finally appeared. I glanced at Chiku, who was all bandaged up, and sighed. No wonder Sister Dao didn't fancy you. Look at her husband, taller and handsomer than you. TSK. Chiku, watch your words. You're a married woman. I snorted. In name only. Chiku blurted out. The real one would work too. I froze. I instinctively turned to look at him. Chiku also seemed caught off guard. After a long pause, he awkwardly averted his gaze and said, just kidding. After the male lead's parents finished pouring their hearts out to each other, they walked hand in hand to stand before us. The dragon father stood there with an imposing aura. Dao Yuna said cheerfully, we've truly relied on the general's wife these past few years. By the way, husband, you and your brother probably haven't seen each other in ages. This is bad. Back when we were just making up nonsense about knowing her husband. How are we supposed to explain this now? I forced a smile and said, meeting by chance needs no prior acquaintance. Dragon Dad laughed heartily and gave Chiku a firm pat on the back. From now on, you're my sworn brother. Now that the damned emperor knows our branch of the royal bloodline still survives, he's begun hunting us down. You probably can't return to the general's manor. If you trust me, come with us. Ku Chi's expression made it clear that slap had wounded him deeply. We followed Dragon Dad back to their territory. Xiao Tian became the young master, constantly being taken by his father to experience all sorts of new things. But between Chiku and me, things had grown strangely awkward, sometimes even uncomfortable when we were alone together. One day when I was chatting with Dao Yuna,
Stopped in front of me and boasted, do you notice anything different about me? I looked up at him. His forehead was still sweaty, his eyes sparkling, looking utterly silly, so I smiled and shook my head. Chiku rolled up his sleeves to show off his physique. I've been training with Brother Long at the drill ground for so long. Look, the results aren't bad, right? I asked. Why the sudden interest in fitness? Chiku shot me an annoyed glance. Isn't it because someone said I lacked Brother Long's imposing presence before? Well, how about now? Do I look imposing enough? not domineering, just foolish. Chiku sulked and ignored me. With alcohol on my breath, I walked toward him. Chiku deliberately crossed his arms and turned away. I'm telling you, I'm really angry this time. It won't be easy to coax me back, even if you. Before he could finish, I stood on tiptoe and kissed him. Chiku froze in place, and after a long moment, he touched his lips and stared at me in a daze. I said with a straight face, back in freshman year, a guy confessed to me, and you ended up beating him up. Chiku grew anxious. That scumbag was no good from the start. Me, what I mean is, since you ruined one boyfriend for me, you ought to make it up to me with another one. Chiku, I just told you it was. He froze. He slowly turned to look at me. It was my first time doing something like this, and seeing his reaction suddenly made me feel extremely embarrassed. I hastily brushed it off. I had too much to drink, don't take it seriously. As soon as I finished speaking, I tried to run, but Chiku grabbed me firmly. He cupped the back of my neck and kissed me with a force that was both commanding and passionate. In the following days, Chiku and I were inseparable, practically glued together every day. When the weather was nice, we'd go boating on the lake. When the weather turned bad, we'd snuggle under the corridor eaves watching the rain. Every day we'd explore the streets searching for new delicacies to try. Occasionally, the two of us would cook together, turning the kitchen into complete chaos. I often found myself staring blankly at Chika, thinking how wonderful it would be if days like these could last forever. Yet I had long foreseen my own ending. After too many days like this, I couldn't help but feel resentful. Why should I be the one sacrificed to the heavens? After several sleepless nights, I decided to come clean to Chiku. Maybe if we put our heads together, we could find some solution. In the afternoon, Chiku was basking in the sun in the yard after lunch. I took out the book The Record of Seizing Heaven and said, "Take a look at this." Chiku glanced at it, and his face instantly turned red. "Didn't we just follow the picture book yesterday?" Me, "This is fucking not a spring painting." Chiku sat up in confusion. "What is that?" "It's the book we're in." I took a deep breath and said, "There's something I've been keeping from you." Turn to page 89. Baffled, Chiku flipped through the book, then fell into deep thought as he read its contents. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but tear up. "What should we do?" Chiku frowned at me. "Who is this Chi-Dudu?" I also, "What?" I snatched the book back and saw written prominently, "The moment Long Chen-Tian laid eyes on Chi-Dudu, he knew she would be the love of his life, vowing to become the strongest person in the world so he could protect the one he loved." Who is Chi-Dudu? I was completely baffled. It was just written that my death made Xiaotian swear to become the strongest person in the world, so I don't have to die now. Holy shit, I don't have to die. As soon as I finished speaking, Xiaotian came running back from outside the courtyard, holding a candied hawthorn stick. I couldn't help but hug him and plant several kisses on his face. Xiaotian wiped the saliva off his face, then suddenly looked at me very strangely. I panicked a little. "What's wrong?" Xiaotian patted my belly and said with a grin, "Little bean." "What?" Xiaotian circled around me, chanting, "Godmother has a little bean in her belly. Oh, I'll have a little sister to play with soon." I instinctively turned to look at Chika, who stood frozen in place as if struck by lightning. It took me several seconds to slowly realize, I might become the male lead's mother-in-law. Oh, how thrilling. Chiku was furious, because I originally knew I was going to die, yet kept it from him for so long without telling him. He was furious, sitting sullenly by the bedside every day, full of grievances. "Now I have nightmares every night, all about you saying you would die. Jiang Yanqing, you have such a cruel heart. If the plot hadn't changed, were you planning to make me a widower?" I sat beside him and poked him with my finger. "But wasn't I about to tell you?" I thought perhaps he needed some time alone to calm down. So I crawled back under the covers and went to sleep by myself. After a while, a warm body pressed close beside me. Chiku wrapped his arms around me, burying his face against my back. At first, I didn't know what he was doing until I felt the dampness on my skin. Was he crying? He was. Good heavens. Who is Chiku? The kind of man who wouldn't even cry after getting his bones broken in a fight. I was momentarily at a loss. Chiku muttered behind me, "Don't let there be a next time." I obediently agreed. "Okay." He held me close and snorted again. "I think Long Chen-Tian isn't good enough for our Dudu." Me, "You sure know how to change the subject in a flash." But with Chiku being emotionally sensitive right now, I humored him. "He's literally the male lead. What more could you want in a son-in-law? Male leads are the most dangerous. They always attract too many admirers." "That makes sense," I casually remarked. "But I believe our Dudu must be the most outstanding one. She's definitely smart, beautiful, and strong." Chiku suddenly propped himself up. his gaze burning through the darkness as he looked at me. How strong, me, that night. My furious roar echoed throughout the entire courtyard. Chiku, you damn beast, I'm pregnant. For God's sake. The end.